Thanks again for joining us on this session. Post-lunch sessions are hard to concentrate on, but we'll try and keep this interesting because this is about we have the marketing experts from different hospitals and insurance companies as well. So this will be an interesting topic which will talk about patient acquisition, the best practices. And I want to start straight with the questions, and I want to come to Dr. Bajaj for this one. Dr. Bajaj, what are the current best practices when we talk about patient acquisition in the Indian healthcare scenario? What are some of those that you are deploying at your hospital?
See, being part of a healthcare community, I think there shouldn't be any best practice in terms of patient acquisition. We should, of course, to start with, we want everyone to be healthy, and that's the mantra I am taking. I'm taking the cognizant of the fact that everyone will be in with us. But I think the lowest hanging fruit for anyone and every one of us who are part of the healthcare ecosystem, even at a delivery level or even at a digital space, even at an insurance space or even Ayurvedic space, the thing should be that you provide the right information. And if people are already looking out for that kind of information, you provide that, and that becomes your acquisition channel. If that is the case, if you are shutting down somebody's throat to get a hernia surgery, it's not going to happen, right? If you are telling them that this is what it is, these are the symptoms that if you are going through, and if you're telling them the right channel and giving them the right care, that's the best possible user acquisition channel for you.
Transparency.
Absolutely. Right information as well.
What about retention?
See, retention is something comes with more of services on ground. It comes with the care. And retention comes with what is the kind of post entire cycle of the patient. Now, if you are, again, even in that, if I'm telling a patient that while you are discharging, these are the 7 things that you have to do for the next 15 days. That's the right formula for retention as well. Because after that, you want them to be healthy. You don't want them to come back to the hospital as well.
Mr. Sreejith, you are into Ayurveda hospitals, and what is the awareness or marketing initiatives that you are undertaking, and how do you think awareness is happening in Ayurveda hospitals?
Hello. Yeah. So talking about awareness, right? I mean, firstly, over the last 3-4 years, especially after COVID, there's a lot more awareness about Ayurveda in the space general, right? If you look at even the search volumes, they have exponentially increased. But the point which I always keep telling about Ayurveda is, again, similar to what Dr. Ashish said, right? You know, a lot of people come saying that, I mean, they come for Ayurveda, but they don't know what Ayurveda is entailing. Right? Somebody with diabetes will come and say, can you give me something around diet which can actually take care of my diabetes? Or, someone will come and say that, I want to get a lifestyle advice which can actually reverse my condition. And somebody will come and say, like, I heard that Panchakarma therapies is what will solve my problem. Can you help me with it? Or medicines, right? So it's all about giving that right expectation. Right? A lot of customers come in. So Ayurveda for me, if you look at the classical marketing funnel thing, it's a middle of the funnel problem. But then what I mean is, a lot of people come in and then they need to be rightly educated what Ayurveda can offer. Right? And in that particular scenario, since we are in the hospital space, it's all the more important for us to give the right expectations. Look, you're coming with an extremely serious condition.
What it can't, obviously.
Sorry?
What it can't offer.
Yeah, what it can and what it cannot, right? I mean, both of them has to be explicitly mentioned because that goes further down, right? I mean, especially space like Ayurveda requires a lot more engagement, counseling of the patients because they are in the chronic space and a lot of them may even shy away from taking treatment, right? I mean, sometimes we get a lot of queries in the night when people say that, I want to take something. Next morning, they are back to their daily rigmarole. They kind of ignore their condition at times. So you need to educate them that, the treatment has to be taken at the right time and it is always good to not wait till it becomes critical. So it requires a lot of counseling also. So eventual acquisition is a function of giving the right information, setting the right expectations, and them taking them through the funnel, explaining why they should take treatment. And this is what help us also to answer, the retention also comes eventually through that.
Mr. Agarwal, what are the patient acquisition models used across the world, and what can be learned from them, and how can they be implemented in the Indian scenario, do you think?
Yeah, hi everyone. I will break it into multiple parts. So first is a traditional method or traditional model, wherein for acquisition people do a lot of things like OPD camps. They send doctors, then they do what I was saying. OPD camps were there. I am just forgetting it. So D2D, yes. Doctor to doctors is there. So a lot of traditional method wherein, I think I just got blank. So if you can help me.
I'll add to it.
Yeah.
So just to fill in terms of that, basically a lot of international modules where a lot of partnerships help you into B2B2C model, where all the patients flow in, or even within those countries as well. Typical models like you mentioned, your camps are there, your D2Ds are there, your healthcare with not even with retails and corporates. Plus a bigger module is insurance-led module for international markets. A lot of healthcare is already covered, and so it leaves a very small room for retail infrastructure to be built. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry. So in traditional method, if you see, as Ashish is also mentioning, I think we need to change when it comes to acquisition, because whenever we think about patient acquisition, we think, okay, just let's go and meet patients, perform a few marketing strategy, meet some facilitators, take them for dinners, and have some exhibition where you can just have a stall. But then later on you realize every country you visit, there are few facilitators, there are few expos which are happening, and every hospital, every facilitator from India are just going there, meeting them, and asking them to give us a patient. But when you see, all these players are very handful. So I will say a person has to change their mindset. A person has to change from fixed mindset to growth mindset first. Then only we can go beyond, and we can have more patient acquisition. So I think standardization is the biggest bet what we should play. Standardization of pricing, standardization of services. There are countries like Turkey who has started doing standardization. So if you go for hair transplant, so things are very standardized. But in India, we are still fighting, either on pricing, either on with each other. So I think we should all join hand together and come up with a standardization thing. The another big bet what we have for patient acquisition is digital space. So I will say we are in an era of informative system, and everything is is available over clicks. All of us have a smartphone. Whatever information you require, the first thing you do, you go to Google and ask, or now ChatGPT or something else. But when it comes to the healthcare, I've interacted with so many hospitals, so many facilitators, so many people. Most of them, they don't understand how digital space work, and they don't want to change their mindset. So I will say they should hire a right set of people who can understand digital space, which can actually boost their patient acquisition. And finally, I will say reverse, medical tourism will give us a lot of business. Currently, we are just seeing as an India, patients should come to us. But what are we doing for their country? How are you building trust, right? If you start a reverse medical tourism, if you start doing small elective surgeries in those countries and ask all patients to come to India who require a tertiary care surgeries, I think that can boost another patient acquisition, and it will give us a steep, hike in Indian healthcare system. Thank you.
Mr. Babu, we've spoken about insurance in this panel, being a facilitator. What are some of the patient acquisition initiatives that Star Health is undertaking, and where do you see the role of an insurance player in patient acquisition?
Yeah. In fact, before that, I just add to what Amrit and Ashish mentioned, Dr. Ashish mentioned here. So I got a decent number of family members, extended family members living in the UK. In fact, one of them worked for the NHS. Though they got one of the best healthcare system available, it has lots of lot of flaws as well, right? So the second you want to consult a doctor, and they may say come after 3 months, right? So why not partner with the NHS and probably get those customers on the digital platform, like a telemedicine, where they can actually dial into an app with one of our partners here, and then do at least the basic diagnosis or at least the basic consultation to begin with, right? I'm just throwing an idea. And coming back to your point, for us, number one, COVID has been a watershed movement because before that, healthcare has always been a push product. I guess COVID changed that to a large extent by a 180 degrees. Another thing that's also happened is that we had huge amount of expats. The Indian community spread across the world. They reached out to us and our peers saying that, you know what, I got my near and dear ones, my elderly parents, uncle, aunt, because people are not able to step outside their home, forget coming to India and taking care of them. They reached out to us and say, you know what, we need to cover them, right? So a lot of things also changed a lot post-COVID, but coming back to the patient acquiring strategy, just want to clarify, we would like our customers to be a lot healthier, right? Because one thing we don't want is them to become a patient, or if they are patient, we want them to stay healthy. There are a lot of opportunities out there to work with hospitals and healthcare providers and say, you know what, because we have a lot of unique products catering to senior citizen and also to cancer patients, and also very unique products on diabetes and even cardiac, healthcare. So there's a huge opportunity to partner with healthcare providers who actually, where the people get diagnosed and they can actually, say, you know what, leave the message, there is a healthcare provider who can probably take care of some of the requirement or the expenses that you may incur. That is one. And number two is we are working on a lot of referral program. Because if you look at, a disclaimer, I'm not from the insurance industry. I spent my last 2+ decades in the fintech payment space. And what I see how India was on the payment space like 12, 15 years before, I see more or less the healthcare space out here. Because the penetration on healthcare insurance is hardly 8% or single digit. And IRDA, Government of India, has put a target of covering a 1 billion life in the next 24 years, right? When we achieve complete 100 years of independence. So it means a lot more awareness need to happen. What is happening in the mutual fund industry, what has happened in the payment industry. Now just giving example, my friends over here before we stepped in, I was driving in a tier 4 village in Tamil Nadu, and I saw a very old lady selling, tender coconut water on the street side. And we stopped by, to have some, and she had 3 QR codes kept over there. And I was quite curious. I was asking her, what is 3 QR code? And she explained to me, and she's someone not stepped into a school even for a day, right? 65-year-old from a tier 4 village. And she said, the first QR code is for my first son, who's doing his 3rd year college in this town. Second QR code is for my second son, who's doing 1st year college in this town. So I need to send them money on a weekly basis. If I receive all the money into my account, I need to do one more transfer. So she's avoiding the friction. She's making sure that QR code, she will say, this one. And when that money is paid, enough money is paid, she keeps it inside. The 3rd QR code is for her own expenses, right? So if you look at it, somebody who never stepped into a school, the basic literacy is 0, or financial literacy, or at least the payment literacy is sky high. Because QR code is the most innovative, advanced way of receiving money. But if you look at on the healthcare side, right, the most educated, the most aware, and the most urban, our health literacy is on the lower side. If you look around, 98% of them have D3 insufficiency. A huge percentage of women are anemic. Autoimmune disorder is the name of the game right now. And especially the urban educated community, our kids' birthday parties are in McDonald's, KFC, and Pizza Hut. which they should not be, right? So what we also working on is, one is, we get the, customers in, but also how to bring those awareness on wealth and wellness, where health insurance become a byproduct, and then create health and wellness. In fact, what I'm building as an innovation officer in Star Health is to reward customer for being healthy and wealthy. Somebody who can, like, there's a fitness expert who spoke just before our panel, who said about 5,000 steps. So we're building a model when people key in, or we can track them using the IoT device. When they do those 10,000 steps, drink those 6 glasses of water, have those 8 hours of sleep, right? So that we can reward them with star coins, which they can probably burn it against Adidas shoe or a decathlon or a gym voucher, right? We are trying to build that ecosystem. Sorry, I'm a little digressing out here, because getting customers is one, but making them stay healthy is another. And we spoke about transparency, awareness. That is going to be the most critical point. Before I pass on the mic, I want to give one example coming as an ex-banker. JP Morgan is the most valuable bank in the world. And if you look at, there's a company called United Healthcare, the largest, America's largest healthcare company. And JP Morgan operates across the globe, most part of the world. And United Healthcare is more valuable than JP Morgan, right? And one healthcare company, the largest health insurance market in the world, is more valuable than the most expensive bank that operates across the globe. So what we at Star Health keep thinking is that, can we be larger than HDFC Bank? So what is that we need to do, right? And we have the most population in this country. But thing is that the health insurance always been given us off the rack, because it's not customized. If you look at, I spend a lot of time in the car industry, every credit card that we hold, it's customized or at least bought because it suits our lifestyle. Frequent flyer goes for a airline co-brand. A Valley Seeker go for a cashback. But health insurance doesn't operate that way. It is mostly sold by because your neighbor uncle was a insurance agent, right? So what we're trying to solve the puzzle is that, how do we customize it? How do we at least come close to a tailor-made policy? And that again links to the acquisition of a customer or the patient. Yeah. So we want to be in one line Tesla of insurance, and that's where our goal is, and we are working towards that.
Absolutely, customization will go a long way. Let me come to Dr. Bajaj again, and want to address my last question since we are running out of time. With medical tourism coming back, and patients from outside India coming in huge numbers, using the patient acquisition models, Amrit talked about standardization, leveraging technology, the digital space, and transparency. He spoke about customization. How can we leverage these points to make it even bigger opportunity from medical tourism?
So medical tourism is already seen as a very big opportunity, not just by the healthcare providers, but also as a government in terms of adding much more value to our ecosystem. And from that point of view, there are steps which are taken by government as well. But like you've mentioned in terms of summarization, that transparency is the key. The elimination of B2B2C to directly B2C, the standardization templates absolutely work in play. The clinical outcomes are absolutely top-notch at an India level. If you compare it at global also, we are way ahead. The availability of doctor-patient ratio is also, of course, it's not healthy as per WHO, but if you look at Southeast Asia, DEMOC, we are much healthier. Now, if you have to build a channel, I think what healthcare industry has not been able to do over the decades is build for the patient. Right, so the center has been not the patient care, but the center revolves around something else. Basically, it would be either a delivery model unit, or it will be centered around doctors. It should be built around patients. That is the key. Now, if you're building around patients, the logistics that you can have create, or a free channel for people to take from one location to the other location, or vice versa, where your doctors are traveling to the to location one, where the patient does not have to travel. Imagine you are getting flown down from an air ambulance and you're getting there, whereas a doctor flowing back. So both ways this works, right? So it's time that we start shifting the domain to keeping patient at the center. Second, creating shorter routes for the treatment. So that's what your acquisition channel should be. And I'm not getting into whether you get it through offline mode, you're getting through digital space. So that is something that are part and parcel of whatever we do right now. But overall, if we solve these two problems, the patient acquisition or patient flow improves to our country, and it is much more healthier for people.
Absolutely. Patient centricity has to be the goal for the healthcare industry going forward. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining us here on this session. This is a topic which most healthcare providers would avoid, but thank you for speaking on it. Thank you all of you for listening to us. Thank you.